Hey, Brett.
How are you?
Good. You?
Good. I didn't go pull up that latest change to the agenda. Was there anything significant?
No, I was tweaking things.
Okay.
So nothing new to worry about.
Good. Well, I have my board workshop tonight on the varying options for structural change that they want to pursue it. So a little bit different than what online news and editorial comments had to say, trying to guess what we're going to present.
I got to tell you, I've, as you probably have experienced over your career, I've dealt with more of those, and I deal with them here yet. And I'm like, dude, I got no dog in that fight, none whatsoever. So but they think they got to be heard, so away they go. So
I know. Well, that's passive aggressive is not my style. If you want to be pissed off, come on, let's talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's too much like being an adult, right?
Yeah. Well, social media has eliminated that structure of adults trying to remain adults.
That's why I've gotten in trouble over my career for being I am honest, and I'm going to say it. I mean, I'm sorry you don't like what I got to say. I'm not going to say it meanly. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but I'm going to tell you, if the baby's ugly, the baby's ugly, right?
Well, that's where I've had people say, they're like, damn, you're pretty short and to the point. I said, yeah. I said, I've been called brutally honest before.
And by the way, just for the purpose of the conversation, we are live on YouTube.
Well, then I will pause my comments. And I will wait for the meeting, so I'll mute myself again.
No problem. Chief Terry Ford.
How are you, Chief Risto?
I am doing great. Just as a reminder, we are live on YouTube.
Live on the YouTube.
Yep. It's the Carl and Terry show. So you're feeling old when you go into Truex Field and the fire chief, super guy, got to meet. Sat there and talked to him and found out that my uncle was one of his elementary school teachers back in the day, and had a great dialogue. So it was like going back in time and been able to chat. So pretty cool character out there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
he gets it. A conversation I had, and this isn't, this is a good conversation to have either way. It doesn't matter that we're on. I was thinking one of the things that the good chief told me was that they haven't really been inspected in a while, mainly because as long as they're accredited, they don't look at them, the guard.
Really?
I'm wondering if, because, and this deals with previous conversation, I'm kind of wondering if we wouldn't be appropriate to have you set up a meeting with maybe the guard system to explain what we do, how we do it, and maybe there's gaps in between what they think we're due and what accreditation is about versus the other, just to kind of quell that, or maybe to have thought or conversation. I'm just kind of thinking out of the box, but
yeah,
thought that was a pretty cool conversation.
Yeah, I don't know the guard bureau chief right now, but I'll dig into it.
Yeah.
Clean up some clutter behind me. getting ready to move back into our station here soon,
Oh, cool.
sometime in the next 10 years. But yeah, it was pretty cool news yesterday, man. I was like, wow, class 1. That's pretty awesome.
That is an awesome accomplishment. How many class 1s are in the Air Force?
None.
Really? First
None.
one, huh?
None in DoD, from what
Huh.
I would discern. I sent Kevin a note, asked him. We're like 1 of 5 in the state now.
Very good.
There's a few Air Force bases that are class 2, Shepherd, Dover. Some of those that are accredited have gone out and done it. It's not really pushed on DoD, of course, but it needs to be.
Right.
But we had our first assessment done some time back, and we were a presumptive 3 because that's the way they kind of look at DoD departments.
Right.
And we were able to, push it up to 2.
Cool stuff.
And then I got to talking with Kevin Kuntz about it and had another visit. And since, that 2, we added a fire station, added some equipment. And so pushed us up.
Well, once I updated your file with that yesterday. And then when we run the report for the website, literally that will then put it out there, at least listed that way.
Well, it's not effective until 1 September.
Till 1 September?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how that works, but
yeah, I think they have to go through and their process of QA/QI, I believe, before it's actually accomplished.
Piercy's late today.
He is not going to be on today. I don't believe he and his wife are traveling to Phoenix, Arizona for a small getaway.
Yeah. Well, the Davis Monson class made with like 36, I think.
Yeah.
So Debbie's gonna get me Gary West. That'll be good.
Get with see, you're not teaching that for a little bit, but Steve Olson, actually Jerry Nullner is teaching this week with the new stuff. And Steve and I did some tweaking. I meet with the curriculum specialist tomorrow and to go over so we can get things squared away, and then we'll have new stuff out to you guys.
Okay. It's Steve Dirksen.
It is.
We're kind of in a tornado weather day today. It's kind of muggy.
Gotta love those.
Got me a new truck, man.
No. What'd you get?
F-150 Power Stroke diesel.
Did you?
Yeah.
10-speed transmission.
Diesel F-150. It's nice.
I bet.
Terry hates it.
Why?
It's not as comfortable as the red truck, and it's not a platinum.
Where'd you get the XLT?
Lariat.
Oh, Lariat. Oh,
Yeah.
that's comfortable.
She's like, no, it's not red.
Very cool.
It is a little stiff, and but I might put some aftermarket Bilsteins on it. That tends to soften them up a little bit.
So it's got a guess it's all rigged for towing then. Huh?
Oh, this thing's got more switches than an F-111.
Yeah, I know mine does.
I couldn't back it up for like 2 weeks because in 360 cameras and
ain't that cool?
It's cool, but it's a lot of stuff for somebody like me to process.
Yeah, I bet. So I left this morning from the house without my sports jacket on. So I had to, Barbara's seen it, and I was already in a meeting. I've had meetings since about 8 o'clock this morning. So she politely came over and dropped it off for me because I needed to be set.
You don't leave one in your office, Carl, just for those magic moments?
No, I haven't, mainly because my office has been more at home than it has in here. So it just didn't happen that way. But that's a great thought, because I used to hang an extra uniform shirt or two because you never know when there might be an accident. So
It's usually a coffee accident.
you know, mine was more barbecue-ish than coffee. But even in my Air Force days, now that was a coffee. That was a coffee. See, as you migrate from blue shirt to white shirt, you have to pass that technique of not spillage while you're drinking coffee in the morning on your shirt.
Or you can get gray shirts and black shirts and red shirts.
Yeah, but it shows on a white shirt and an Air Force blue shirt in a minute. And I know it's there.
We're looking at going West Coast style.
Are you?
I liked it in Sioux Falls when we went to all dark shirts and pants. But in Fargo here, we have the white for chief officers.
You're the chief. You can change that.
I can, but I don't care.
There are some things worth going after and other things not so much the battle.
Yep. When it comes to clothing, it doesn't really bother me at all.
You know, I found that you can tell the department, implement just about any kind of policy and you don't get a lot of pushback. But you start messing with uniforms or trucks, fights on.
Yep.
Don't mess with my clothes.
That is not a lie.
Yeah, we went through a whole deal here. We had a small group of guys that wanted polo shirts for the summertime. And so we tried, a few guys tried them out, we just put a committee together, gave them the opportunity. And man, there were some guys that really loved them, but other ones that just really hated them. But our guys in our fire prevention bureau said, boy, that would be a lot nicer. It'll look good when we're out there. And so we allowed it for the fire prevention guys. And they started wearing it. And then all of a sudden, all the shift guys wanted it.
Funny how that works. You guys do shorts at all in the summertime?
We don't have time for shorts up here. For one day, it just isn't worth it.
Yeah. Something you're going to wear once.
We allowed it when I was in Sioux Falls, and the problem with shorts was the guys that could wear shorts didn't, and the guys who shouldn't wear shorts did.
Yeah, we got a few guys with legs like mine that.
It wasn't the legs so much, my problem was I got steam burned one time, jumping in without, at the middle of the night. And, in those days, the bunker clothing wasn't that, close to you where that vapor barrier kind of helped out and everything. So I didn't let it because of that. I know there are plenty that do. So it's just a matter of personal preference, but that was my stopping point.
We allow them to be in their shorts at night around the stations if there's nothing going on, and then they have to wear their bunker gear over it if they're going on calls. So.
Well, the Honorable Piercy is here.
Man, he's going to be in trouble with Linda.
I hope it's not my fault. It's on his own. Chief Piercy.
Oh, is my camera on?
Yeah, and we're also on YouTube Live.
You're missing the orange juice in there, Ernst.
Yeah, well, the orange juice is just extra calories, and nobody's got time for that.
What are you doing on the thing? I thought you were traveling.
This is my way of letting my boss know that this is a very important thing to me, and even though I'm unavailable and losing some cool points with my director of personal affairs at this moment, I only intend to be on for just a couple of minutes.
So Linda's at the spa.
We're actually in the Sky Club. at the Salt Lake Airport. We're not there yet.
Oh, say hey to Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda. She went like this off camera.
Oh, cheers.
Chief Dorkson, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey,
Yeah,
Chief Ford, are you? Oh, go ahead, Chief Dorkson.
My past accreditation manager is excited. He got his email from Steve Olson yesterday that he's assigned to Beverly Hills.
Wow, what a great trip. Their accreditation manager, and I'm being serious for a moment, their accreditation manager is so dialed in, Chief Dorkson, that it's going to be a wonderful trip.
Yeah, Tim's on that one with Steve Olson and Tom DeMint, and I don't remember the other guy. So
wow, power team.
So I recommend, and I realize that Tim won't have any influence on this, but I recommend the Beverly Hilton. It's got a great rate, especially right now, and it's literally 3/4 of a mile from the venue.
Nice.
That's where they hold the Golden Globes.
What is that?
Some sort of television awards show.
Oh, gotcha.
Hey, Chief Ford. Understand ISO just awarded you guys Class 1. Congratulations to you and your team. Well,
Thank
more to you, but the team as well.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Morning, Miss Jones.
Good morning, sir.
You know you can't call me that.
Yes, sir.
She was taught to respect her elders.
That's right.
Ooh, ow.
I would like to laugh at that, but she's called me sir more times than I can shake a stick at. So
I won't say what I call you because it's being live streamed, but you know.
but I don't mind.
We know,
because sometimes those nicknames are earned. They're not just given.
That's right.
His Excellency Chief Piercy.
Yes, that's exactly it.
I'm not sure that's exactly correct.
Hey, just so you know, I brought Princess Piercy with me. She's sitting next to me.
You already are co-host, Katie.
She corrected me. Queen Piercy.
The Queen.
Wow. Have that removed, Terry.
Hey, Katie,
Yes, Carl.
you should already be co-host.
Yes, I am now. I see it.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
did pop up right away. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, while this has been my extreme pleasure to join you this morning, at this time I must drop off.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for your service.
thanks, Chief. Carl, will you let me know if I have any action items as a result of today's hearing?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, you guys have a wonderful meeting, and sorry I couldn't stay.
No problem. Safe
See
travels.
you,
Bye.
Linda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carl, our discussion yesterday, I think, is going to work out. I think I've got a plan. So,
Oh, that's half the battle. We got a plan.
are you going to get to Canada fishing this summer, or is that still a no-go?
That is a no-go. It's got moved to 22 now.
Are they still prohibiting travel into Canada?
Yes. Well, let me rephrase that. You can travel. You have to quarantine for 14 days on arrival.
Really?
Is that once you get to the lake?
It's supposed to be once you get into country. So, I mean, essentially,
Hang out at the airport or what?
well, we drive in, so it'd probably have to be at the hotel where right there in Vermilion Bay once we got in, or maybe they make us stay right there at the cross Fort Francis, right there across from International Falls, was where we enter. So, all good. Hey, Ken.
Hey, what's happening?
Again,
What's going on?
Just as a reminder, everybody, we are live on YouTube. Currently have 5 commissioners. Need one more for a quorum. Jake is going to run late, and Jesse is not going to join us today.
morning, Jim.
Morning, all.
Hey, Jim. Katie, you have the agenda, correct, or access to it, so you know who to let in when?
Yeah, I got it saved.
Okay, super.
It looks like everyone for the first group is here.
Yep. We now have 6 commissioners. Woohoo!
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good to hear.
Morning, Steve. Good morning, Jim. How you doing? Doing good.
Mr. Chairman.
Terry, how's it going? I can see Bradley there as well.
Yes,
Who
sir.
else we got? Yeah. Ken,
Good morning.
good to see you.
Likewise.
Vice Chair, Vice President Dirksen. The inevitable support of Cindy and Katie, which is great.
So Steve, you may not know this, but I'm kind of OCD-ish. When are you gonna?
Yeah, I know.
When are you gonna hang that painting?
Well, we have a plan. We know exactly where it's going. This building is deserted pretty much, except for me and a few other people. On my floor, I'm the only person. So it's coming, but we're I'm not sure if you've heard, we're still we've just locked back down again. Our numbers are horrible. We're only at about 30% with the first jab. I think that will it's starting to show. We're going to see a bit of a slide down now as a result of that. But until people come back into the office and we can get someone to come and hang them again, and there are people who hang pictures in our city who would be most upset if I just went down and banged a nail in the wall. But I'm thinking by maybe even the June hearings, you'll no longer be able to see this priceless work of art. There's actually 2. There's another one you can't see right by me as well. So.
Hello.
John, how you doing?
Hey, John.
Good morning.
Good.
How's the weather over in Fairfax this morning?
It is. It couldn't be any more pleasant. It is beautiful, beautiful day.
Same here in Chantilly.
No.
You'll say, look out your window, Carl.
Makes me wonder why I'm not on a golf course or fishing.
It's going to be 86 degrees here in Fargo today. So
Really, that's a heat wave.
it was 87 yesterday. So the ice is melting now.
It's not off?
Oh, it's been off our lake since April 1st. So
Yeah.
So you've probably just got the same email as I got, Carl, that Thomas is going to be a little late. Thomas Breyer.
Yep, just got it.
Yep.
We won't hold that against him.
No, not this time.
You might want to ask him if that's part of his collective bargaining agreement with CFAI to, do that.
Yeah, how much notice do you have to give?
Yeah, or maybe we could ask about his promotion he just got.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, but I'll let him.
Good
I don't
for
know.
him.
Yeah, I'll let him talk about that if he wants to.
Yeah, there's been some movement at the IFF, right? I didn't new president, new general president, Ed Kelly, I think it is.
Yep.
Mhm.
Secretary Treasurer too.
Yeah. Yeah. Who got that one, Carl?
I am absolutely terrible with the names, so I don't.
Okay. Is that where Ed was?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Steve would know
Yeah.
better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the last hearings we had, going to do we'll get everything done. We'll shut down off of YouTube and finish up the rest of the agenda items that are down below. So approval of the minutes.
Yep. The deferral.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
The new Secretary Treasurer is Frank Lima.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Out of New York, I believe.
Yesterday, I put up the latest spreadsheet tracking for all the site visits in case you guys, to your SharePoint site. So if you guys want to see what's going on, what's coming up, and what the statuses are, you can kind of see it that way too. So I keep it updated every 2 weeks. By the way, with only having 6 agencies, we won't go the full 4-hour run. So we'll give you a little time back.
You're all heart, Carl.
I try.
Well, it's noon. I'm guessing your time, right? Do we want to jump in?
Yep. I was just moving Sal into the room, and
okay. Hi,
we're all
Sal.
set to go. Katie, if you want to bring in Fox Crossing, that'd be great.
There's a Mark H. Do you think that's the accreditation manager, Mark Husselman?
Could be, but I don't know.
He's the only Mark I see on this list.
We can give it a go. We'll find out. Good morning, Fox Crossing. How you all doing?
Good morning, Carl.
Good to see you. Steve, are you up and operational? Steve Lambert? There you are.
Yeah, there we go.
You haven't changed much since last week when I saw you.
It's been a long week.
It has.
You doing well?
Doing well. All right. I think we have everybody. So Chief Dongworth, all yours.
Thanks very much, Carl. So welcome Fox Crossing. First of all, I'll just do some introductory comments here. As always, we want to recognize the many volunteers who make CFAI work and CPSE actually, but certainly with the accreditation efforts that you see right through from the peer assessors, the technical reviewers, team leads, and my fellow commissioners here. This is a volunteer effort, and this organization functions very well based on people generously giving of their time and expertise to foster the model of continuous improvement in the fire service. So thank you to all of those folks. A reminder as well today that these meetings are being recorded and also being live casted on YouTube. So if anyone is tuning in on YouTube as well, welcome to our virtual hearings. Hopefully as well, one day we'll get back to having the choice at least between real in-person hearings or virtual hearings, but that will be a conversation at a later date. We have 6 agencies today, I believe. Is my math correct? Or 5? I think I have 5 on the list. Sorry, 5 agencies today, unless I'm mistaken.
6.
6.
Oh, okay. In that case, I must be missing one on the list. Oh yeah, no, it's at the top of the second page. I beg your pardon. Math was never my strong suit here, nor attention to detail. So there we go. Anyway, Fox Creek, welcome to the May virtual hearings of the CFAI. Steve Lambert, fifth time accreditation, by the way. And I know there's a number of fifth-time agencies around now, including mine. I'm very proud of it, and I'm sure you're very proud, Fox Crossing, of this being your 5th time as well. So please, Steve Lambert, would you like to introduce the folks from Fox Crossing, and then we'll get going.
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. I'm Stephen Lambert. I'm here today representing Fox Crossing Fire Department of Wisconsin. They're here today seeking their filth accreditation. With me today is Fire Chief Brian Harbison. He will be introducing the other members of his team. The village of Fox Crossing is located 35 miles southwest of Green Bay. The village is composed of 13.7 square miles. The current population is 18,800. The village is located on both the east and the west sides of Little Lake Butte des Morts and is connected by the Rolling Campo Bridge. This is an organization that consists of 2 stations with a total staff of 63 personnel. The department utilizes a unique staffing model of prepaid on-call personnel, part-time and career. Their weekday minimum staffing level is 7 from 0800 to 1630, Monday through Friday. During weekday evenings, calls are covered by paid on-call staff who come into the stations to respond to calls. From Friday at 1800 to Monday at 0600, the department staffs 1 engine around the clock. They are a Class 3 ISO department. Our site visit occurred during the week of March the 28th. During their review of the documents and follow-up site visit, the team came together with a total of 8 strategic and 11 specific recommendations. All these recommendations can be found in the report that you have. The agency has accepted all these recommendations. They have already completed 3 of the strategic and 4 of the specific recommendations and have plans in place to complete the others. We were able to verify and validate the agency's response data and risk assessment. The entire team recommend that the Fox Crossing Fire Department receive their filth accreditation. This time, I'd like to thank the members of my team for all their many hours of hard work putting in for the site visit. They were Deputy Chief Brian Burra from the Jackson Grimes Metropolitan Fire Department in Iowa, Battalion Chief Derek Hyde from the Brentwood Fire Department in Tennessee, and Division Chief Matt Clark from the Williston Fire Department in North Dakota. This time, I'll turn it over to Chief Harbison.
Thanks, Chief. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I want to thank you, Board, too, for your time here today, and his team for his efforts on the site visit. With me today on my left is our Village Manager, Jeff Sturgill, Assistant Chief Todd Sweeney, Training Chief Jeff Barago, our Assistant Accreditation Manager, Ryan Braun, And then in the back rows, we have Bill from our GIS department, Jeremy Searle from the financial department, and then 2 of our board members are present to witness the hearing as well. I'd like to say we are very proud, as the chairman mentioned, of our 5th accreditation. It's something very unique, I think, anymore with maintaining that level of accreditation. Us being a paid-on-call, part-time combination fire department, one of the first in the country and one of the longer tenured, so we're very proud of that. There was a lot of new things that we incorporated this last 5 years, most of that being our staffing. We were eligible to put on daytime staffing due to the highway project, and that stayed. And then we were the recipient of a SAFER grant 2 years ago, and the village was accepting of that grant, and we were staffing the weekend staffing of that grant. So based on all that different staffing levels, we had a unique opportunity to collect our data, and another opportunity for us in the next 5 years to meet the 10th edition. We'll be excited for that challenge. So thanks again. I'll turn it back over to Steve.
At this time, the commissioners, the agency is ready to answer any questions that you have for them.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Chief. There's a number of questions in the chat, and again, you should rightly be proud of being accredited for the 5th time. So let's go to Commissioner Chief Ford.
Congratulations, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Fox Crossing, on a great report, 5-time agency, something to certainly be proud of. My question comes from category 2, and I'm looking here that you have a pretty robust fire education program and fire inspection program. You're able to conduct conduct inspections twice a year on multifamily and commercial businesses. That's a pretty robust program. Can you, it seems like you're a relatively small agency. To what do you attribute your success in being able to get out that much and perform such a robust inspection program?
Well, if I can elaborate on that, we have our daytime staffing that all the businesses are broken up and pre-scheduled. They're loaded into our iPad software, so the crews, when they report to work during the day, they already know ahead of time what inspections are to be completed. So, and the state does actually require us to maintain that level so that we receive the 2% funding from them monthly.
Excellent. That's certainly something to be proud of. But I do have one question here. With your engagement, and it seems like you are very well engaged with your community, one of the recommendations is that you schedule a meeting with external stakeholders at least once every 3 years. My question is, have you accepted this recommendation? And if so, what efforts are you making toward that end?
Yes, sir, we have. And by default, through the accreditation process, we're required to update our strategic plan and our community risk assessment documents. So we were doing it about every 4 years anyway. So what we'll do is we've already wrote that into our SOC that we will schedule that every 3 years and invite the stakeholders in the community to participate in that meeting.
Outstanding. Really good, strong category 2 report there on your assessment and planning. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I think Vice Chair Chief Dirksen, are you ready to go?
Sure. Good morning. Congratulations, Fox Crossing. Thanks for a good report. I have a question I'm going to direct toward the team leader based on category 5F and the recommendation for HIPAA training. The report indicates that everybody receives the HIPAA training through their initial EMT and then through their annual recertification process. But there was a recommendation to have a separate outside, a separate annual HIPAA training course. What did you find and what to generate that recommendation?
I think the assessor that come up with this one, he was looking through their training categories and didn't see it listed in training, and we thought it should be listed under the training categories. That would take the questions out of the picture that it was done in.
Okay, yeah, because I just did not quite understand why the recommendation was there
Right.
based off of what was how they said it was there. So thanks for the clarification.
Thanks, Chief Dirksen. Chief Keating.
Steve just asked part of a question here. First, I want to congratulate your department for staying with us for 20 years. You really tell us all about what you can gain out of supporting the accreditation model and looking at your report and some of the areas and some of the strengths of your organization. Obviously, your work towards accreditation has really paid off. My question is also in criteria 5 EMS. And it would be the first recommendation in that section of creating a plan and then a policy to acquire online medical advice and control during your EMS incidents. Have you made any progress towards that?
We haven't completed that yet, sir. What we're going to do, we're going to reach out to our project medical director currently now and kind of strengthen some of the online policies and procedures that we do have. But yeah, with our staffing and our level of response, that was an area that we were grateful to see the opportunity to strengthen up with that. So we do have that opportunity and we are moving forward with it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, great job.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Chief Keating. Chief Butler, I think you're next.
Yes, good afternoon and congratulations once again on your 5th. My question relates to category 3, whereas, and I could have answered my own question if I did a little bit more homework, but your strategic plan is dated from 21 to 25, and it shows linked with your annual budget. So the strategic plan, is it CY strategic plan or is it an FY calibrated strategic plan?
Yeah, that's a good catch, Chief. That it does go with the calendar year and not our fiscal year.
Okay, and how successful are you in navigating the reconciliation, being that you state that it is linked to the annual budget? How successful are you all kind of crossing that barrier there?
Well, our budget process overlaps a little bit, so we start our budget process in June, July-ish timeframe, and then get a final hearing at the beginning of the year. So it aligns up better than it looks on paper there.
All right. Well, thank you. Chief Dongworth, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Butler. Ken Holland, are you ready to go?
I am. Thank you. Now, congratulations on your 5th time. That is quite an accomplishment. I do have a question with regards to the recommendations in category 8, training and competency. And there are 3 recommendations in there. And I was wondering if you could speak to how you've begun to address those specific recommendations. And one that's of particular interest to me is the one with regards to establishing minimum training requirements and certification requirements related to the rank, because there seemed to be maybe a disconnect or an inconsistency between what was outlined and what was mirrored with regards to those positions.
When I spoke with the assessor on that particular item, according to our current job descriptions, the ranks of lieutenant, captain, and up into the chief officers currently require the minimum fire officer certification of Fire Officer 1. And it was the recommendation of the assessment team that the subsequent ranks as you progress up to incorporate the Fire Officer 2 rank. Excuse me. Currently in the state of Wisconsin, our fire certification program only does have the Fire Officer 1 and Fire Officer 2. So it was a recommendation for us to place that Fire Officer 2 certification somewhere in those higher ranks job descriptions.
Okay, and have you I'm going to go with the assumption that you've already begun to do that. Or is that for future?
That's a future where there'll be a reassessment of job descriptions just to clean some stuff up. We have some other, from one of the previous other training items, was going to address something similar to that as well too. And so it was thought better to kind of take a comprehensive look at everything and pretty much do it all at the same time.
Understood. I mean, that makes sense. And thank you for the answer. I appreciate it. And again, congratulations.
Thanks, Ken. Sal, are you ready with your question?
You're muted, sir.
Sal, you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Good morning and congratulations again for continued success and continuing your achievements in accreditation. I have a question on in category 9. The report had indicated that you've identified portions of the city that have an inadequate water supply and that you've got operations or mobile water supply operations or alternate water for those sections, and that you also rely on the automatic aid in assistance for those areas. Are most of those areas for supplying that alternate water hydrant sources, or do you rely on any static sources for those areas? And because there was an indication that you had some limited training on drafting experience in the department, and do you rely more heavily on your automatic aid for that, if that becomes critical for delivery where you do have those static sources?
Yes, thank you. We do have a small area in the northwest part of our village that we do rely on automatic aid to establish water supplies for us. That's in an agreement that's been going for years. We do train with these departments, as in other areas that were found. There's an opportunity to enhance that training, but yeah, the northwest part of our area, it's a very small area. We don't get a lot of calls in that area, but that is set in place with auto aid. We also have a Mavis or a mutually box alarm system put in place too that covers that as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sal. I think we have one final question from Chief Dirksen.
Yeah, my question goes back to category 5E. Just looking at your charts, I'm guessing it's probably a numbers thing, but it pops out to me that your baseline times in your moderate risk fire response for your first due is actually less than when you have staffing there. Have you looked into that, and can you explain why your baseline number is a minute and a half better than when you have your full-time staffing available?
Yeah, that's a numbers thing. Let me look at here.
So part of that is we underwent, as Chief Hubbardson spoke about, significant staffing change in 2020. So 2016 to 2019 incorporated a different kind of staffing model. And so that benchmark and target goal, we basically have 4 years of data on a staffing model that was maybe a little bit more updated. And so the 2020 model, which included the staffing, the SAFER grant, and more of a fully staffed engine and things like that, falls more in line with that benchmark. And I think gives a better, when we set that benchmark, gives a better long-term picture of the way the department operates and our abilities to meet those timelines and things like that.
Yeah, I figured with the report, indicating the changes in staffing, that was probably the case, but I was kind of looking for the explanation, and hopefully you've got that on your radar to kind of watch that and see if even during the daytime and the weekend when you have your staffing, if you can reduce that total response time for the first due engine. I appreciate the answer. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief Dirksen. I don't see any more questions from Commission. So great report. Thank you for answering the questions. And With that, I'll ask for a motion to approve Fox Crossing for their 5th accreditation.
Jim Keating, motion.
Jim Keating, I hear making the motion. John Butler, can I take you as a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Any further discussion? Any opposed? Congratulations, Fox Crossing, on your 5th accreditation. Good work. We'll make the arrangements to get the plaque to you. We'd love to be there with you, or you with us, I guess, to be able to present it in person, but not possible yet. So with that, thank you very much. Strong report. Obviously, your community gets great service from your organization. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome, Chief Rhodes.
Morning.
Hi, Jake.
Morning. How are you?
Doing pretty good here. Glad you could join us.
Yes, sir.
All right, Delaware Fire Department's up next. Good morning, Dennis.
Hey, good morning, Carl, Commission.
All right, as far as I know, that's everyone. Looks like they're all connecting right now.
Okay. Chief Donahue, how are you doing this morning? Cannot hear you. Still can't hear you.
All right, can you hear us now?
Now I can hear you.
Good morning, Carl, or good afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, it's just past that, isn't it?
It is.
Very well. All right, Chief Dongworth, it's all yours.
We still have a little bit of morning left actually here, but we're spread out, right? So anyway, welcome Delaware to the hearings, the May hearings, virtual, of course. First time for you as an organization. So hopefully some of the questions may relate to how this has made you better, I guess, because this is what this process is all about. So with no further ado, though, I'm going to hand over to Team Leader Dennis Light to do an introduction of the department.
Well, first off, it's a little bit earlier morning for me here in Arizona as well. So good morning, Chairman Dungworth and members of the commission. I'm pleased to appear before you this morning or this afternoon to present our team's recommendation for the awarding of accredited agency status for the first time, as mentioned, to the City of Delaware Fire Department in Delaware, Ohio. I had the privilege to lead this particular team, which was initially assigned in the spring of this year. We appeared and were greeted by the agency on Sunday, April 18th, and concluded our visit on Wednesday, April 21st. The team consisted, in addition to myself, level 1 peer assessors Tim Richard and Russell Nick, both well-versed in the process, and with that, we were supplemented as well with a level 2 peer assessor, Sean Tyson for Kistner. As a result of our site visit, the team has provided for 5 strategic recommendations and 3 specific recommendations, for which I felt the agency was very responsive to the recommendations. And at the granular level, the agency presented us with a very comprehensive self-assessment manual, as well as community risk assessment and strategic management planning instruments. Those we interacted with were upbeat, engaged, enthusiastic, and very responsive to both our interrogatories and our needs while on site. One key element that was very effective in meeting what I felt were the community needs and demonstrated the willingness of engaging in public-private partnerships was the mutual agreement that the agency had with SourcePoint, which is a health benefit provider in their community, and partnering with the SourcePoint, they provide in-home care services which help older adults to live safely and independently at home, which I felt was really kind of unique. Something that in my travels I hadn't seen as of recent. And with that, when you combine that with the staffing of a service coordinator position within the agency, it provides for a concierge type of approach to provide community members the care they need, thus minimizing the demand for frontline apparatus response, which was pretty useful in meeting their community demands. With that, the team determined that all criterion, core competencies, and other performance measures were credible by way of our verification and validation process. And it's my pleasure to recommend the City of Delaware Fire Department, Delaware, Ohio, for accredited agency status. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Donahue to introduce the city manager and the balance of his team to allow him to provide some introductory remarks. Chief Donahue.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be before you today as we are established as a first-time agency. My name is John Donahue and I'm the Fire Chief of the Delaware Fire Department. With us today and to my right is our accreditation manager, Captain John Hall. And to his right is Captain Jeremy Barr, who will be taking over as accreditation manager with Captain Hall's retirement later this year. To my left is our assistant city manager, Kyle Kreidler. And I believe remotely we should have our city manager, Tom Homan, who is on as well. He's currently out in Los Angeles. I'd like to thank Chief Dennis Light for all his work, along with the team peer assessor for all their work as part of the site assessment. As I expressed to them during the closing meeting and as part of our site assessment, they represented CFAI in the most professional manner. I'd also like to thank Keith Bond, who served as our mentor, who did extraordinary work for us, and the entire CFAI staff for their work and support. Delaware Fire Department began using the accreditation key components 15 years ago as a means to transform our department. This included the use of the CFAI's Technical Assistance Program to develop its first ever strategic plan. This was followed by our internal work to develop our first ever standard of cover. These initial documents led to our department to better understand our community, including its risks and needs. These components further led our community to approve additional funding for the fire department in 2010 to advance our department forward, including the addition of 2 new fire stations, replacing its aging equipment, and also adding 50% more personnel. This has and continues to be a process that the department and city has embraced and will continue to utilize to make improvements in the service we provide to our community. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to our assistant city manager, because I'm looking and I don't see our city manager, Tom Homan, on this side of it. So, Kyle?
Yes. Well, thank you, Chief, and good afternoon. Good morning. Again, just to piggyback off what Chief Donahue had said, it's been a wonderful process. Like any sort of process, there's a lot of learning, a lot of appreciating best practices, especially from the accreditation team that travels throughout the country. And we know what we're good at, but we also know that there's always room for improvement. So anywhere that we can benefit the city, our department, and also share what we do very well, we're happy to do that. And we're looking forward to becoming a better department and a better city based on this process.
And John, I'm sitting in the LA airport, actually. Hear me? Yeah, thanks. And John, just wanted to congratulate you, obviously, and your team. And I really appreciate SIPC's efforts at encouraging accreditation. This is an important process. It's a milestone for our department and our community. And I think it's gonna lay the groundwork for other departments within the organization to follow the lead of Chief Donahue and his team. And that's off to you, Chief. And I wish I could be there in person today, but we're all virtual, and I'm here in LA and waiting for a flight back to Ohio. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tom.
So is Dennis, is that that's it for introductions, I'm guessing?
Yes,
I can see the
Chairman
chief
Dahmer,
nodding.
that is correct. That's the introductions and the team.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just wanted to check before we get going here. So we have a number of questions. First is Chief Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Delaware. First time at the table, strong report, and it sounds like you got some strong commitment from your city leaders there. Mr. Holman made mention of this being a process, and that's the key word. That's what we like to hear. As you've got an accreditation manager retiring and a new one coming on board, that's exactly how you do it. You reward the outgoing accreditation manager with a nice, well-deserved retirement, and then you bring in the new guy. So congratulations to both of you on what you've done and what you will do. My question goes to the incoming accreditation manager. Knowing that this is a process and not just a project, what safeguards and what processes do you have in place, or do you plan to implement to make sure that the City of Delaware Fire Department continues on with the model and reaps the success of continuous improvement?
Yeah, so we, we're moving into that 10th edition, so I think just being able to get right back after it, and continue looking at the documents that we have and continuing to build on those documents will help us stay current and active and continue to move forward in the goals that have been, recommendations that have been set, and just remaining, continue to build on what we've built so far.
Follow up to that, what are you doing in your department to involve outside of the gold badges? What things are you doing to involve the membership of the department and get them engaged with the model?
So we have included. There are when we built this document, we spoke with different individuals who were active in those particular fields, categories, and then now it's just about education and educating the benefit of accreditation and process and what it can do for us.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Congratulations.
Chief Rhodes, are you next?
Good morning, and I'll echo Chief Ford's congratulations for sure for being at the table for the first time. Again, strong report overall. I want to jump to 7G type area where it talks about health and wellness. I couldn't really make out medical and physical exams are required for new hires, but do you offer those on an annual basis as well for all employees?
What we did with our labor contract in 2018, we created an incentive for our personnel. And if they went out, got a physical for their personnel, they would end up getting $250 for that physical. Along with that, we're currently in contract negotiations with our local union, and we are in the process of trying to address the wellness aspect of it, including cancer screening.
So, and that's where I want to get to is that cancer screening, but with that incentive, what kind of participation do you get statistically of your members?
We're in about the 50% range.
Okay.
And the only thing that we're requiring our personnel to do is provide us, we have a form, a document that says that they have been cleared, and that physical has been completed. We do not require any medical diagnosis whatsoever. No. Obviously, firefighters are very well concerned about the information that's disclosed about them. So we've been, trying to work to ensure their protection as well as achieve and work towards their betterment of health.
So kind of works towards the recommendation, which is those cancer screenings and evaluations. How do you and labor get past all the other stuff and say, let's get this done?
And that's currently where we're at right now at the collective bargaining table. We introduced an article, and at this point in time, we have not had further discussions with that. We've actually had 2 meetings. The first one was the organizational meeting. The second one, we signed off on all the tentative agreements and articles that have not and will not change. So we plan on working with that in the coming weeks.
Well, I wish you luck, because this obviously is one of the ones that I think the collaboration is critical for firefighter health and safety, of course. So hopefully you can get to where you need to be. I hope this recommendation helps you as well. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief Dirksen.
Yes, good afternoon in Delaware, Ohio. I guess it'd be afternoon over there. My question is in regards to the recommendation regarding performance indicator 8C1 regarding your training facility. You currently don't own the facility that you use. And so I'm curious, and it's the report states that you are utilizing most of the training is being conducted at your stations. How are you faring with the ISO requirements for your training for your department?
Currently, that is one of the areas that we're continuing to work on and obviously need further assistance with, if you will. Our local career center, which we ended up showing the peer assessors when we were here, is located just actually within a half mile of our Ford Station, down in our city's lower end. However, they utilize that training tower a lot with their new recruit firefighter 1 and 2 programs. It's a little bit past our outside of our city core area, and that is why we are pursuing the need for a training tower that will ultimately meet the needs of our community. Fortunately, the size properties that our fire stations are located on right now meet the requirements as fire grounds, with the exception of one location. However, working with ISO, they've recognized our use of these other training facilities, but also at our main fire station, we have a host tower that meets a requirement for the elevated height as a training tower. So that's how we've been working through this. Obviously, we recognize the need to for a burn structure along with the capabilities of a larger tower that just hold the host tower for our training purposes.
Oh, glad to hear that that you're working on it, and it's good to see the assistant city manager and the city manager on the line here. So hopefully they'll help you out and work in some future funding for that as well.
And just to clarify that, we do have $500,000 already been appropriated this year for that purposes, and we have $750,000 next year for that's designated for that. That will ultimately be approved in this year's budget cycle for 2022.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that there's support there for you and getting that going. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chief Keating.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, congratulations on looking at the data provided in the report on your EMS. You've obviously created an EMS program there, something to be proud of, and with some plans in the future to even enhance that more to deliver an outstanding service to your community and really above and beyond many areas are able to do. My question, going through the accreditation process and obtaining your data and drawing your data and analyzing your data, I did note that in criteria 5 under fire, EMS, and hazmat, there's a substantial gaps in first arrival as well as effective response force arrival in those areas between your baseline and benchmark numbers. I assume a lot of that was identified going through this accreditation process, and you have plans in motion to look at those numbers and take a look at what your benchmark was to your base mark, and maybe redo those, reorganize those, take a different look at them?
Yeah, and actually we have a couple initiatives that we've already taken on. The first is on our city's east side in our 5-year capital improvement plan, we had a plan for a 5th station located in that area. That is because of the demand for services in that area and our ability to get over onto that eastern side of our city. Also along with that is our move towards critical care paramedics and having a mobile unit located within our city as well. And as you spoke a little bit about EMS, the EMS is 80% of our responses, no different than many other fire EMS agencies throughout the United States. And with that, what we're looking at doing is having a unit out in the field that can end up making those initial responses a little bit faster than our in-station capabilities, number one. Number two, we're looking at units to be available so that we're not pulling our EMS units, our paramedic transport units in our engine for what we're seeing as an increase in our responses, and that's to lift assist and also medical alarm. So we're trying to offset that to try to keep our primary response vehicles in stations available for those emergency type of calls.
Very excellent. This is what it's all about. You're using data to design your future and your future plans, and to be able to set funds in motion to basically make that happen. So again, really, really good job, and you've got something there to be proud of. Just keep growing it.
Thank you.
Thomas Breyer, I think you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry I was a little bit late today. Crisis going on. Now resolved. Crisis now resolved. Chief, I actually thank you, and this has been a great report. I actually have two follow-up questions now, and I want to hit on the most recent one that Chief Keating was asking about. And I think I just want to make sure I heard you straight that the revision of EMS now has a unit, or units rather, that are out that will respond faster than your in-station resources. Are you posting on street corners, or can you explain that to me a little bit better?
No, we have not implemented that. We're working with our union right now to get that implemented. We have already funding to hire additional personnel. So that is still in our future to be able to do that. But using the data, as we talked a little bit about, and really if you look at our report, we base a lot of information on. You will notice actually in our standard to cover that we have a concentration of hotspots, which are higher demand areas in our city. And that's what we would end up looking at doing, is hiring personnel during our peak demand area times to provide those type of services to those areas. And then we do cross-staffing in several of our stations, and what would end up happening, that unit could then relocate up into that area so that we no longer have a void if that unit should be transporting to a hospital.
But would they be responding from stations, or would they be posting on street corners?
No, they would be a mobile unit. So I hate to say the word posting at a street corner, but they would be out in the field available for a response based on that higher demand area.
Just within peak hours?
Yes, during peak hours right now. That's the funding that we currently have available for us.
Okay, I just as a note, and I don't know, perhaps you have investigated already, but posting or being in a seated position for long periods of time has a deleterious effect on knees and backs. It's not necessarily a super safe practice. So I don't know if you've investigated that, but I would think that would be something, just as a recommendation, that you would potentially investigate.
Absolutely, we'll certainly look at that. The other thing that we look at is those individuals will have continuing education that they'll need to be have that type of training too, that they'll be out of those vehicles. So we're putting all this together as far as the plan.
Okay, my other piece is, and I am pleased to hear you mention your local several times, but and I see that you do include staff in the plan, but is there a dedicated seat for, I believe it's local 606, to have at the accreditation table?
Actually, Dennis did meet with our union president with us. Interestingly enough, Jeremy Barr is a former president, and below myself, I have 6 captains. 5 of those captains have been union presidents. The only 2 people outside of the collective bargaining unit are Captain Hall and myself. So obviously, when you look at putting together the plan that we did, it involved labor and management together.
Yeah, but I don't want to blur the line. I know you may have members that are in the local, but if they're there as officers, they're there as officers of the department. Do you have a dedicated seat for either the local president or appointee of the local president to participate on behalf of the local?
On behalf of local, no, other than just reference at this point in time of what's been going on. So that's certainly something that we will ensure that we include in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Can I ask for a motion to approve, please?
Move to approve, Dirksen.
Steve Dirksen to approve. Second.
Second for Rhodes.
Jake Rhodes. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Any opposed? Not hearing any. Congratulations, Delaware, on your first accreditation.
Thank you very much.
Normally, we'd be able to take a picture of you with the plaque right after the hearing if we were in person, but we're not. So we'll make arrangements to make sure we get that to you, and you should be very proud of that for your first go around for sure.
Thank you very much. It is an honor. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, Spartanburg, South Carolina.
I think that is everyone for this group. Looks like they're all connecting right now.
Awesome.
Chief Blackwell, is there anyone else from your department joining? Oh, there we go. Thank you.
City manager may be joining us. We'll see here shortly. Chris Story.
He's on.
Yep, he's here. Thank you.
Awesome. I think we have anybody. Chief Dongworth, all yours.
Thank you very much, Carl. Welcome, Spartanburg Fire Department, South Carolina, your fourth accreditation. As always, thank you for continuing the journey of continuous improvement. So with that, I'll hand over to Mike Higgins to do introductions on behalf of the agency.
Commission and the agency as well. I want to thank the opportunity for allowing me to be here today and be the team leader for the Spartanburg Fire Department. I believe present today is Chief Blackwell's accreditation manager, Brad Hall. I'll let the chief introduce the rest of his team when I get finished. We conducted the hybrid site visit for the Spartanburg Fire Department April 19th to the 23rd. My team was comprised of Clay Stewart from Colorado, David McIntyre from Florida, Corey Smedley from Virginia, and myself. Department was very responsive to all of our requests, and they were receptive to all the recommendations. We did leave the agency with 19 recommendations. They have accepted or implemented most or all of the recommendations since our site visit. At this time, the peer team is recommending accredited agency status for the Spartanburg Fire Department. So with that,
I think we lost you, Mike.
I'm going to turn it over to the agency now.
Okay.
All right.
Good afternoon. Well, thank you for allowing Spartanburg Fire Department to participate in the CPSC hearings today. Here today, representing the City of Spartanburg Fire Department is our City Manager, Chris Story, who's on a separate feed. Assistant Chief Brad Hall, who's the current accreditation manager, but he is transitioning those duties to our Fire Marshal, Will Smart, which is to his right. Again, the mentoring process and transferring the torch. And to my left is Assistant Chief Phil Stark, Administrative Chief. And then behind me is our accreditation analyst, Robert McNally. I wish to thank our site assessment team, Chief David McIntyre, Chief Forrest Medley, Chief Clay Stewart, and our team leader, Mike Higgins. They did a very thorough job in looking at what we were doing and made some great recommendations, which we have accepted 19 of those. We were also privileged to host Alexandria Fire Department's new accreditation manager, Joe Beeman, during this visit, and that was to help him understand the process and to assist Alexandria in their accreditation journey. So again, we're just trying to pass it forward and help other agencies continue on the journey like we have. Finally, I would wish to thank the commissioners for their time this afternoon, and we look forward to answering any questions that you may have. And I think now Chris Story, who is also on the line, would want to say just a couple of things.
Steve, thank you. I'll be very brief. I just want to express on behalf of the entire city our appreciation for the team that put their time and energy to a thorough site visit and review. We appreciate their energy and their enthusiasm for the professionalism of our organization. We look forward to continuing to learn from the process, and thank you all for participating.
Thank you very much, City Manager. I appreciate that. Okay, we've got a number of questions from Commission. Let's start with Chief Keating, please.
Yes, congratulations on a great report. Obviously, going through the years, the number of accreditations certainly has strengthened your department and made it better in a number of ways. My question deals with Section 6. And it was a recommendation to develop and implement a program to inspect PPE and be able to replace that PPE if it's found to be damaged or worn. Have you accomplished anything towards that particular recommendation?
We are streamlining our biannual inspection process with documentation, keeping that record keeping, both hard copy and electronic. Also utilizing myself and a cadre of 6 personnel throughout the department to assist with inspecting issues that come up and those that need to be taken out of service for repair. We work with an ISP that's within an hour's drive to get that equipment repaired and back in service. We also have in the budget replacement annually of gear that needs to be taken out of service and replaced.
Congratulations. Glad to hear that. That's something that can really get away from you very quick if you don't have a plan in progress. So again, thanks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief Keating. Chief Butler, I think you're next.
Yes, hi. Please disregard. I do not have a question. Upon further reason, I was able to answer my own question. Congratulations on a great report.
Thanks, Chief Butler. In that case, we'll go to Chief Rhodes, please.
Good morning, Chief Blackwell. Congratulations to you and your team. It's good to see you again. Mine goes right to category 5F, EMS. And there's a recommendation now that are about AED and CPR programs, but your role in EMS is limited. So talk about cardiac survivability and why you're kind of championing this program.
Well, that was a recommendation that came from the committee, is for us to become involved in that program. So we've made some initial contacts with the local Spartanburg EMS, which is a hospital-based system, and Spartanburg Regional Medical Center, and we'll be working with them to try to implement a program that we can use the CPR app or whatnot when we have a cardiac arrest in the city. Spartanburg Regional also has a foundation, so we're going to look to them to try to do some funding for that particular piece. But as you did state, our involvement in EMS is very limited in scope. So it's kind of a new step for us to try to venture off into this project.
Just perhaps, would you know cardiac survivability rate for your city?
I would not know that, sir. but I can find out for you and let you know.
I always love stumping you. That's awesome. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, Sal, I think you're next with a question on category 9.
All right. Everyone can hear me, right? Congratulations again, Chief, and all of your team there on a good report, and also on your lowering of your ISO PPC class from a class 2 to a class 1. My question comes from category 9. There was a recommendation in the report on the private hydrants that weren't on commercial properties that weren't being maintained by the water purveyor, and that the recommendation to provide some kind of a program to manage and take care of the ensuring those hydrants are operable. Do you have a plan to go forward with that, so that the hydrants that the department will know which hydrants are that they're maintained or not?
Yes, sir. So with some recent company officer training we just conducted in-house just a few weeks ago, we reiterated the need to assess, different sprinkler fire alarm plan review or sprinkler fire alarm annual inspections, and to incur that as well. So we'll reiterate that at some quarterly training about how we need to get those reports to ensure that those property managers are maintaining their hydrants. And not only just getting a report, actually looking at the report to make sure there's comments or there's violations that are on it that are actually corrected, not just overseen and stuck in a file.
And oversee any type of periodic testing, maybe flow testing, things like that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We'll, because that is a private hydrant system, we'll have to require a third party to do that testing. So we'll be looking at their flow rates and making sure the flow rates are adequate for the risk that's involved.
Right. Yeah. Just checking to see if that would be incorporated in your fire prevention some way. All right. Great. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Sal. Let's go to Chief Ford, please.
Congratulations, Chief, on a great report. My question goes to category 2. You've got 2 core competencies there regarding developing a time-based process to determine critical tasking for all risks, and to use a gap analysis to measure the time performance. Have these recommendations been accepted? And if so, have you made any progress on it, or what are your plans to resolve those 2 core competencies?
Yes, those were accepted. We currently get a monthly report from our analysts, and up until this was brought to our attention, we really didn't look at the gap analysis. So now that is being incorporated in our monthly and quarterly and our annual report. So we'll be looking at that gap analysis monthly as we get the data. That data is also distributed to our chief officer group. That is also placed on our SharePoint so that our line company officers and line firefighters can look at those reports too and look at their performance. And in addition, that is also provided to our public safety committee monthly. So there's more than one set of eyes that's going to be watching whether we do something with that gap analysis or not.
Good deal. Any revelations coming out, any constraints that you've been able to identify that maybe you could elevate and exploit to resolve issues? Anything jumping out at you so far?
Haven't had anything jump out at us so far, but again, we're just starting that gap analysis, so it's going to take several months to see a trend in that data.
Of course. Good luck, and again, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief Ford. Let's go to Bradley Arnold, please.
Thanks. Good report. And going through the recommendations, the one question I had was related to category 6 and the recommendations number 11. And this is somewhat for Mr. Story as well as for the chief. Don't be afraid to try different options related to the distribution process. I've gone through probably 4 different scenarios till we found the right fit. A lot of that has to do with, for us, it was par levels and making sure that we monitor the par levels. Have you already started forward with your new ideas, and what idea do you have that you're planning to move forward on that particular recommendation.
We'll have to apologize. We don't have the recommendations laid in front of us. If you could.
Sure, I can. Yeah, this one is related to the distribution of the equipment as well as tools for the department. It was looking for a more efficient and effective process versus the current staffing model that you have for that activity.
Right. So right now our engines are sort of decentralized. They are at the 4 outlying substations, and our specialized our truck or rescue battalion are centralized at one station in the middle of the city. With our automatic aid partners, except for one department that doesn't want to play, we have, I believe it's 8 auto aid partners that play back and forth. So we've had to play with some of our responses and staffing already because one of our auto aid partners to the south moved their ladder truck to a different station, which kind of changed our matrix. And so I think to apply that is our matrix, which we lay out, which is how many apparatus we send to different types of calls. It's constantly evolving. Our analyst behind me here, he reworks that thing probably half a dozen times a year based on changes. Staffing at our stations, we do have a staffing matrix for us, trying to maintain 3-person minimum staffing on all apparatus. The exception of our rescue, if we get to bare minimum staffing, the rescue drops to 2 instead of 3, but we won't respond it as a single unit unless there's some kind of catastrophe. And so I think it's just going to be a constant process, as it has been for some time, to work out those kinks. I think in the future, with our increased call volume that's trended over the last 10 or 20 years, I think we're going to eventually have to look at additional staffing, on-duty staffing. We've supplemented a lot of that with our automatic aid partners, which is fabulous. But we've had a 50% call increase in the last 20 years. And so eventually we've got to catch up to that as an organization and as a city, make sure we've got enough people on the trucks, enough trucks on the road to cover those calls and cover those risks.
No, thanks. And I recognize now, based on what you're talking about, I guess some of that also has to do with the timeliness of communication from your automatic aid partners so that you can timely respond according to that as well. No, thanks for the clarification, because I was reading it a little bit different in regard to what the recommendation was. But that gives me a lot more understanding of what y'all are having to deal with. Thanks.
Thank you. I think I have one final question from Chief Dirksen.
Yes, good afternoon, Spartanburg. It's good to see you at the table again, Chief Blackwell. Good to see you again as well. I'm looking at category 5 and looking at the numbers. When I look at your moderate risk fire suppression, your ERF, you're at 825, but when we get to on your baseline, we get to your high risk, and on your technical rescues, you're meeting your baseline almost in most cases. Have you looked at why there's the difference? It seems to be the numbers are, numbers of responses are fairly equal. So in my mind, that doesn't show any reason for the statistical difference. Have you looked into that?
Take that to our analyst and see what he has for us.
But the difference there is that the number of apparatus that respond to those different types of risks. There's more apparatus respond to a moderate risk fire than it would be for a tech rescue or a hazmat call. So that would account for more time to get to the ERF.
Yeah, I guess I was looking more at the just for your first due. There's a significant difference in those, and if you had an explanation for that.
Don't know that we would at face value there. No, sir. I think that's probably something we could look at. A lot of times we're looking at sample sizes and things there, kind of skew those numbers a little bit, but you're saying that they're approximately equal, which is probably possible. I would say a lot of our technical rescue calls, those may include MVA with entrapment, elevator rescue, those sort of things. So personnel may not be fully dressing out head to toe with PPE to respond to some of those types of incidents versus moderate risk fires that would be dressing out before they get in the truck to roll. I don't know if that number's looking at the TRT or just the travel time itself. I don't know that I could count for the travel time without really delving into data further.
Yeah, I would also say that most of our elevator entrapments are downtown, and that's where our squad is. So they're out the door and on it pretty quick. Whereas your moderate risk fire responses are all over the city. So there's a little additional travel time there for those type of calls. But But the majority of our tech rescues are going to be elevator traps. We get a lot of those, and they're all in the downtown core.
Sure, and that explains some of that that first due why it's quicker, and I get the turnouts and things, but it just looked to me like there should be, if we're turning out for a moderate risk fire or turning out for a high risk fire, you're dressing out. Those should be a lot closer on that first due in just looking at what I'm looking at. So if you look at it, I think that suffices what I was getting at there.
Thanks, Chief Dirksen. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Please. Chief Ford, second.
Keating, second.
Keating, second. Thank you. Any further discussion on Spartanburg? Not hearing any. Any opposed? Congratulations, Spartanburg, on your 4th accreditation. Great job.
Thank you.
And if we were in normal times, we would present you with your plaque, but we're not. So we'll have to make sure we make the arrangements to get that to you. And hopefully you'll have somewhere where you can proudly place that to show your commitment to continuous improvement. Thank you so much, Chief and others, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Peoria Fire Medical is up next.
Jake, I was sitting here scratching my head trying to think, where do I remember him from? Where do I remember him from?
He was my chief in Stillwater for a few years. Yeah.
Why would he leave Stillwater and go to South Carolina?
Because he's smart.
By
the way, he did a doctoral dissertation on the value of accreditation to the city of Spartanburg.
Yep.
It was kind of interesting, a very interesting read.
Well, look, it's Craig Rollins.
How's everybody doing there today?
Very well. How you doing, Craig?
Oh, we're hanging in there trying to figure out if it's going to rain or snow today.
Ain't got that problem.
We got the same problem.
Here in Oklahoma.
Chief Ruiz, you all ready to go? Can you hear us?
There's a lot of them. They're all connecting right now. Just give it a few seconds.
Got it. Chief Ruiz, can you hear us?
They're all, there we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There, I got you.
Good, good. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Chief Ruiz, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
We got you.
Okay, good, good.
All right, Chief Dongworth, we have all the players to the table.
Thank you very much, Carl. Welcome to Peoria to the for your 3rd accreditation. It's looking like. Congratulations. Let's go straight over to team leader Craig Rollins to do introductions.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Chairman Dongworth and Commissioners, I'm Craig Rollins. I had the privilege of serving as the peer team lead for Peoria Fire Medical Department. I'm joined today by Chief Ruiz.
Thank you very much, Carl. Welcome to
Thank you. Good morning.
There's an echo somewhere. We're also joined today by the city manager, Jeff Time, the deputy city manager, Andy Granger, Deputy Chief Billy Morris, Deputy Chief Robert Brewster, Deputy Chief Sal Salinas, Deputy Chief Gary Bernard, and Peoria Chapter President of Local 493, Hunter Clare. The site visit occurred from March 14 to March 18 on 2021 as a hybrid site visit due to travel restrictions of one of our members. The team consisted of myself, Will Gray, Darren Baudry of Edmonton, Calgary, and Daryl Sawyer from Salem, Winston, North Carolina. The city of Peoria is located north and east of Phoenix, covering an area of 197 square miles with an estimated population of 179,000 residents. Peoria Fire Medical is a medium-sized, full-service ALS transport municipal fire department operating out of 8 fire stations with 197 uniformed personnel, 24 civilians. The accreditation team consisted of members of all ranks and all shifts to include representation of Peoria Chapter Local 493. Minimum staffing consists of 56 personnel with a minimum 4-person staffing on all suppression units, 2-person staffing on all ambulances. Peoria Fire Medical is an active participant in the Regional Phoenix Operating Consistency Committee, which is also locally known as the ROC. That consists of 28 fire departments that standardizes operating procedures, policies, response plans across the region. The team initially received the documents in March 2020. However, due to some initial quality concerns and the emerging COVID-19 pandemic, the agency was given until October 2020 to review its documents, review and revise its documents without a formal notice of delay. In October of 2020, after a second document review, there were still a number of documentation concerns and methodology concerns, and the agency was given a formal 4-month delay. Of primary concern was the agency's risk assessment methodology. As part of the document review and site visit, the agency recently developed and implemented a new risk assessment methodology that takes into account occupancy hazard scores, risk to firefighters and the public, consequence of an incident, any specialized training or equipment that might be required to mitigate the incident, any extreme weather in the area, and the results are validated by local subject matter experts. The goal of the agency is to have all commercial occupancies evaluated using this new risk methodology by the end of 2022. An additional challenge the agency faced was the sudden departure of its accreditation manager in January of 2021. And if you think of the time frame, that was right as we were getting ready to coordinate our site visit. This highlighted some documentation challenges as well as some succession planning concerns. The agency is now in the process of ensuring process documentation so tasks can be handed off from one individual to another, as well as some knowledge sharing. The peer team identified 15 strategic and 6 specific recommendations during the site visit. The agency has accepted all of them, has begun working on many of them, and have completed 4 of them. Chief Ruiz can give you details on those accomplishments. After a thorough review of Peoria Fire Medical Department, the peer team unanimously recommends accredited status by the commission. I'd like to turn it over to Chief Ruiz for a few comments.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to, first of all, thank the accreditation peer assessors. They were phenomenal, starting with Chief Rollins that has a true understanding of quality and continuous improvement. And I was thoroughly impressed. Chief Gray, Chief Sawyer, and Captain Badry were all a lot of help. As Chief Rollins mentioned, we lost our accreditation manager. She left for another city, and our backup accreditation manager was Chief Irvine, Deputy Chief, and he did the last one. And he retired, decided to retire. How dare him? And so anyway, it was a little bit of a challenge, and Chief Bernard stepped up to the plate and did a tremendous job in learning it very quickly and bringing it up. At this time, I'd like to introduce a couple of my bosses, and that is City Manager Jeff Tyne and Deputy City Manager Andy Granger for all their assistance and support in this process. I want to also say that we are very committed to this process, and as Chief Rollins mentioned, there was 21 recommendations. We accept all of them. We accept the challenge, and we will get it done. We have already completed 4 and in the process of pretty much all of them. And so One of the things that I would say up front is from the last accreditation is we concentrated a lot on the effective response force and adding the ambulance service and also the LA systems with firefighters on them. And so I think we are very oriented towards customer satisfaction, and sometimes we get very involved with the quality and continuous improvement and the results of getting to customer satisfaction, that sometimes we forget about the process a little bit. So you have my commitment to the process and improving in this process. And I think that, you can teach an old dog new tricks, and Chief Rollins has certainly done that in pointing out some of the deficiencies that we have in the process and documentation. So we are committed to this process and we will get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peoria. I take it that's the introductions done, Craig?
Yes, unless the city manager, deputy city manager had any comments.
If I may, this is Jeff Tyne over at the City of Peoria. Again, as Chief Reese had mentioned, we thank you so much for working with us as we're kind of developing and refining and getting our documentation in order, working through the transition in this unique period. And I think this is so important to have such an agency of your standing to give us a good sense of best practices. And we are very eager to make sure that we follow through on all of these. So very much appreciate this. We are wanting to be put forward in the spirit of transparency and quality. And this is a great guide for us to do that. And look for us in the future to continue to improve. So thank you very much.
Thank you, City Manager. I appreciate that. So let's go to questions from Commission. First, we have Chief Ford.
Good afternoon or good morning, Peoria. Congratulations and on a great report. My questions go to Category 2, Assessment and Planning. And you kind of alluded to this in a bit in your introduction. Very familiar with, the Phoenix region there and the commitment to customer service. And you noted that sometimes you get wrapped up into the customer satisfaction sort of thing and kind of lose sight of the analytics, if you will. Understand that totally. And, and being engaged with stakeholders is vital. But so is quality improvement and analysis. You've got 5 recommendations here focusing on core competencies. And most of them have to do with validating your effectiveness, quality improvement, assessing performance, reliability, and so forth. It seems that though there's not been a lot of focus on analysis of your systems and looking at issues potentially in detail as to constraints that your agency may be having. And Chief Rollins, if you would like to chime in on this too, I mean, are we saying basically that these programs exist, but they just need a little more polish, or have we not focused in the right directions?
If I could take that first, Chief. What we found, initially we had some concerns about how their documentation was, how they were documenting their programs, things along those lines. When we got on the ground, this agency is doing some fabulous work on the ground. Their members are providing the utmost quality to the community. Our challenges were how they were documenting it, taking credit for the work that they were doing, things along those lines. They do phenomenal work. Part of one of the challenges that we also had is Peoria previously had 80 something planning zones. I can't remember the actual number. I believe it was 84, 87 planning zones, which was almost an unmanageable amount of work to try and do data analysis on 87 different planning zones. They scaled that back to each of their station zones, and they assigned everything as an urban population density, because that was the kind of the population density for the city as a whole. Once we're on the ground, the city is somewhat spread out. It's very dense, and then in some other areas, it's very spread out. So if you look at some of the gap analysis later in the report, you'll see some extremely protracted gaps that are in there. One of the recommendations in category 2 is to take a deeper dive and maybe break out some of those planning zones into both urban and rural population densities so that you have a different benchmark depending on what the risks are in those areas. So that was part of it. And then also, looking at the performance on a regular basis, documenting and adopting an annual appraisal process, which they had, it just wasn't documented or adopted. They have a very robust, and you'll probably hear the chief talk about their RBO process, results by objectives, very robust and regular process. It's just not as formalized as we would have liked.
Chief, did you want to comment or?
Yes. So, and I think he hit it on the nail, is that I came from Phoenix, and it's, like training the Titanic. So Phoenix is a lot more process oriented in getting things done. You come here and things that would take us a year in Phoenix takes us a month at most. Is we have a correlating team that's made up of the senior staff, myself and senior staff, and the staff of the union and their senior staff. And we have, of course, broken down into committees and work teams and whatnot. But things get done so rapidly here that we don't get a chance to even take a breath. So I think that we get things done real rapidly, and again, we concentrate so much on the end product that we need to improve on documenting how we got there. And that's where the main improvement lies. And I'll turn it to Chief Bernard if he wants to chime in on that, because he's been working on some of that.
That's fine, Chief. Being fast to fix is not necessarily a bad thing. And understanding what Chief Rollins was saying, as far as, you did lose your accreditation manager, and, writing, it sounds like more of this was documentation and writing to the PIs and formally doing it. Yeah, I mean, you're fixing on the fly, which is great. And sometimes we do lose sight of the documentation. I fully understand that, but no, that's fine, Chief. I got a real good picture of it now, and congratulations on a great report, sir.
Thank you.
Bradley Arnold, I think you're next.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to ask Mr. Rollins some questions, but based on the introduction, the feedback, I think my question actually goes to the city manager, Jeff Tyne, related to the recommendation that the agency develop a policy to establish an equipment lifecycle reserve fund. I know a lot of times cities and counties don't want to create a separate fund and just keep the funds limited to what is statutorily required. So my question to the city manager is it going to be truly a separate fund, or is it going to be a reserve line item, if you will, within the city's general fund? That's my question.
Yeah, if I may, thank you, Mr. Arnold. I appreciate the question. With regard to the way we look at our capital reserve, I think it's very clear we do have good standards with regard to our assets and the expected useful life of those, and then developing a plan for the replacement of those. Rather than just setting up one reserve fund, we obviously are a full service city with various different funding sources that come in. And one of the things that we like to do is just to make sure that when we do our asset replacement, that we are tracking, monitoring that was done on the appropriate time frame. So with that, we usually work with each department to establish what is the right reserves that we need. We don't necessarily place it in a fund. We have within the general fund, we do have a significant portion for that. And then we work to make sure that we can identify asset replacement very effectively. For the smaller assets, it's usually we do that in a kind of a 5-year frames. For such things as our vehicles and such, we do have replacement funds already established so that we can replace the significant investments like that. All of our rolling stock are covered and are in a separate vehicle replacement fund and fully funded. Looking all the way out for the smaller items, we continue to work with the departments and set up our mechanisms. But a separate reserve fund, we don't want to do that until we can absolutely make sure of what is the expected useful life and cost. And that's why we like to instead work with the departments on that.
Understood. Thank you for the answer.
So Commissioner, let me have Chief Brewster come on because he's already started with that process and worked with budgeting and finance and kind of a plan in order to make sure that we do get the equipment that we need. So Chief Brewster, why don't you chime in?
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay.
Yep.
So yes, so we have what's called Maintenance Pro software that we've brought online through our Support Services division. And basically that's a fleet and equipment maintenance tracking system as well as inventory control. And through that process, we're actually identifying all of the big ticket items, if you will, for equipment replacement. An example of that being extrication equipment, maybe ladders, our UTV. And through that, we're putting that stuff in there with basically the shelf life, the end date of it. And then we'll be notified a year out in advance when that is coming up for replacement so that we can work with the budget department and city leadership so they know ahead of time that they need to fund these things coming up. And so that's kind of the process that we have in place. We're actively putting those items in there. And yeah, I think that's going to be a good solution to that.
No, it sounds like y'all got a good system that y'all are moving forward with. Again, thanks for the additional feedback.
Chief Rhodes, I think you're up next.
Good morning from Northwest Arizona. It's a good day. So congratulations on getting here because the last 15 months has been up and down, not only from the initial documents, but then COVID and focus away from this, accreditation management. We've kind of hit on that. We've kind of hit the recommendations as well. Those are easy to focus on, but talk a little bit about lessons learned from the last year of kind of getting that formal delay, and also how do you prevent this kind of from occurring again in 5 years?
Chief, thank you very much. And I think your weather is pretty much like ours in Keene, so you're not too far away. Yeah. Again, we do a lot of planning. I mean, I don't want to take away from that. And we do things through a labor management process. We meet monthly, and we get things, as I said before, done pretty quickly. I think that one of the weaknesses in the fire service in general, as you know, is that we don't celebrate very well. In not celebrating very well, we don't set up the process in order to show all our accomplishments, although we do report to council and to city management all our accomplishments as we get them done on a yearly basis, is that we don't do that very well internally with ourselves. So I think one of the lessons learned, and again, the COVID, everybody blames COVID, and me included, is that it was a tough period. It's a tough period to meet because you're doing everything on computer, you're doing everything online, you're doing everything through Zoom or one form or the other. And so that was challenging. The other part of that, again, is that, and I'll take responsibility, is to shift gears and make sure that it is being documented well and that the process is in place. We have not wasted any time. As soon as we started dealing with the assessment group and the team, we started on pretty quickly. Again, we had kind of a catch-up period with that we lost our accreditation manager and the previous accreditation manager during this whole process. So again, what we learned is redundancy, is that we have to have more than one accreditation manager. And so we're in the process of fixing that and have another one as backup and even some depth beyond that in order to fix it. So, we identified it. We're taking, all the recommendations to heart. There's one or two of them that are questionable to our system, but, we figure, we'll try them. And if they don't work, we'll change it. But, it's good to have some outside eyes that look at the process. And so we take that to heart. And I was born in a process of continuous improvement. And so we try things and sometimes they don't work and we change them. So I think that's the biggest lesson learned in this is that this process changes also as well, because we were still under the lane of the last accreditation and we didn't we didn't see the speed signs and so we had to shift gears and so we've learned that and we're doing that.
Chief, if I may, this is Jeff again. Well said. I can't tell you how proud I am of our fire leadership team and our labor representation. They're so amazing at everything that they attempt and put quality into it. With this assessment and with the information that's given to us, you've given us a great wake-up call. And this gives us a chance for that group to work in alignment from management to fire leadership to our labor partners to all the way down to make sure that we maintain the standards that you're all bringing forward to us. So as we go forward to answer that specific part of the question, I think all of your information and your feedback, your very frank feedback is just what we needed. And I know that this team is ready to take that on in the next years. So thank you.
Well, thank you both. I think both of your words echo throughout the fire service, that's for sure. And every time that a department rolls around like this. So congrats on being here for you and your team. I know a lot of hard work in the last year, so congrats.
Thank you. I think we have one final question from Chief Keating.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the chief's serious dedication to the process. That's absolutely excellent. I understand the difficulties of going for a third-time accreditation with a new accreditation manager. I'm actually going through that currently in my own organization right now. My previous accreditation manager left unexpectedly. He was offered a chief's position in another city. So we're going through that. But what makes it work is a statement, Chief, that you had said that you have a true dedication to make all this work and to use the recommendations and information and what you've learned over the previous years to make your department community better. I do have a question regarding criteria 5 in the wildland specifically. There were 3 recommendations into that. One of them dealt with being able to carry the wildland shelters on the deployable apparatus. The second one dealt with the education and exercises for the staff that will be using those. And then the third is simply the deployment of wildland resources. Have you made any progress on any one of those?
We have, absolutely. And before I turn it over to Chief Billy Morris, because he's on the federal wildland team and we have a federal wildland team here, is that we have done some training and we do an annual analysis and on that training is we already ordered the shelters and we ordered enough shelters for every seat on every truck in Peoria. So we didn't waste any time on that. And so that's going through the process right now. I'll turn it over to Billy to expound on that, on the training part of it. He's our ops chief and our wildland extraordinaire. Billy?
Good morning, thank you. As the chief explained, that we did through the budget process bounce some money and bought fire shelters for all the fire trucks. Over the last 2 weeks, we have ran our whole fire department through our annual refresher. Captain Claire from our union helped set up the refresher training, and we were able to run our whole fire department through it. We're also training some of our neighboring fire departments in our annual refresher training. And this is an ongoing thing we do every year. Our next phase is, since we purchased these shelters, is everybody that's been hired in the fire department in the last 15 years has gone through the Red Guard class 130, 190, and they are not required to maintain their certification. But once you have the Red Guard 130, 190, you always have it. You just have to get the refresher. Get the refresher every year, which is given an opportunity for everybody to do that. And our wildland team, we have 25 members that are on the federal team, like the chief said, that are deployable throughout the nation, and they are required to do the PAC test and the whole arduous part. The rest of the line membership are not required to do that, but they will be trained in the fire shelters, the deployment of them, and all the urban interface aspects of wildland firefighting.
Very good. Very glad to
If that
hear
answers
that.
your question. If you have anything more, feel free to ask.
Very glad to hear that, and thanks for your timely attention to something that is really, really important for the health and safety of your firefighters. Again, thanks for hopping on that and accomplishing so much in a short period of time.
Thank you. I think that's it for questions from commission, unless I've missed someone. Could I get a motion to approve Peoria?
Keating,
motion. I saw Jim Keating, saw your lips move first, I think marginally. Do we have a second?
Second. Brad Arnold.
Second, Brad Arnold. Thank you. Any further discussion on Peoria? Not hearing any. Any opposed? Not hearing any. Congratulations, Peoria Fire Medical Department, Arizona, 3rd accreditation. Great report, great work. Thank you.
We appreciate all the input, and I guarantee you we'll get it done.
Perfect. I like that kind of commitment, and we'll make sure we get your plaque to you.
Chief Ruiz, real quick question. Do you guys
Sure.
do you guys have a hot shot team out of Peoria there?
We do not.
Okay.
But again, we do send our teams out on a regular basis with state deployments and federal deployments.
Because we had some hot shots from that region come in here recently and help us out, and real professionals. That whole region is really a bunch of rock stars.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Peoria.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your help.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Houston Fire Department. How you doing, Cindy? You're muted.
I am well.
Retirement going well for you.
Retirement's awesome.
Oh, yeah, rub it in.
Getting ready to hit the road.
Why is it that when everybody retires, they start looking 20 years younger?
And they have a permanent smile on their face.
One of these days, you'll figure it out, Chief Ford.
I think so. I always look so happy.
All right, everyone from Houston is in. They're all connecting right now, so just give it a couple more seconds.
All right. Chief Pena's in.
Good afternoon, everyone.
How you doing, Chief?
We're doing well. How are you all?
Awesome.
You guys getting rain up there?
And nothing.
You can have some.
I know you got a little bit. Nice positioning with all your accreditation plaques in your background there. That was
trying to
symbolic.
The camera, did I get them all?
Yeah, I think we got a little feedback coming. A couple extra mics in the background.
You try it again, Chief.
He's muted. All right. Feedback because that speaker's so close.
Oh, okay. Let me move the speaker back.
Yep, you're good now.
We're good. Thanks, Katie.
You're welcome.
All right, Chief Dongworth, we have everybody in the room.
Thank you. Welcome, Houston Fire Department. Great to have you on board. This is actually, I recall, I've been around too long. This is the second time I've done the accreditation for Houston. So great to see you. Fifth accreditation again, second agency today we've heard from where it's their fifth accreditation. That's quite the achievement for any agency. So congratulations on that. And if I may, I'll hand straight over to Cindy Bonham, team leader, to do introductions.
Thank you, Chief Dongworth. Good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are, to you, the commissioners. As always, I want to thank you for your time today. None of this happens without you. I want to thank the Houston Fire Chief Pena, the accreditation manager, Leonard Chan, and other staff that were extremely responsive to our questions and requests. They treated the team with awesome hospitality. They were transparent through every stage of this process, and they are to be commended for that. We found the Houston Fire Department to be professional, from the fire chief all the way down to firefighters. We went to some stations unannounced, and everyone was very welcoming and treated us outstanding and answered questions or anything we had, and were honest, and we appreciate that. I'd like to thank my team, Michael Baraki, A.G. Bryant, Alan Butch, Tony McDowell, and Trevor Wilson. These guys worked tirelessly from the very beginning to complete a thorough and quick document review. There was a lot of back and forth with the agency. They took on the challenge of going to Houston, which is, I think, the largest department accredited, and they were able to maximize their time to get out and see all the things that they needed to see. We by no means saw everything in Houston, but we saw as much as we could. They also provided excellent feedback for a report with some good recommendations that will help Houston moving forward in their endeavor of continuous improvement. You guys or commissioners that have been on, seen me at the table before know I typically have a lot of recommendations. Houston's no different. It does not reflect in any way on their credibility. I just like to give agencies a good playbook to move forward in continuous improvements. There's unique situations that Houston Fire Department has to deal with. There are some specific state laws that impact the organization in how they're structured and how they do their business that you usually don't see in other areas. Houston is, I think, over 600 square miles, and there is no zoning. So when I ask, I'd like to see your high-risk areas, it's like everywhere, because you could have a petroleum plant next to a trailer park. So Houston is very unique in that aspect as well. The team would like to commend them for embracing this model of self-improvement. There's been changes in leadership and accreditation additions in the last 20 years, and this is their fifth site visit. And I would like to, as well as speaking for the team, congratulate them on maintaining this for the last 5 cycles. We found them credible in all aspects required, made recommendations to assist them moving forward, and we recommend Houston Fire Department for accredited agency status. And I will hand it over now to Chief Pena.
Hello, can you all hear me okay? Just turn that. No, just lower the volume all the way down. Okay. Can you all hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Sam Pena. I'm the Fire Chief for the City of Houston's Fire Department. I want to begin by thanking the Commissioners for all the work that you all do and your efforts to bring professionalism and excellence to the fire service. I also want to acknowledge Ms. Cindy Bonham and the rest of the peer assessor team, Mike Berkey, A.G. Bryant, Aiken Butch, Tony McDowell, Trevor Wilson, for their work and the dedication to the accreditation process. I want to thank them for challenging us as a department and for the commitment to the continuous improvement of the fire service. I'm also very proud of our team, and I want to acknowledge them. Some of them are sitting here with us. My executive assistant chiefs, my command staff, Mr. Leonard Chan, Ms. Heather Gallagher, and of course, the men and women of the Houston Fire Department. They are, without a doubt, some of the best in the industry, and I want to thank them for their courage, their commitment, their compassion that they demonstrate each day. Additionally, I want to acknowledge and thank Mayor Sylvester Turner. He's the mayor of the city of Houston. I also want to acknowledge and thank Councilmember Abby Kamen. She's the chairman of the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, and I believe she's joined us today. And of course, the rest of the council members here in the city of Houston for their support and their guidance and giving us the tools and the equipment to ensure that our men and women are safely able to perform their duties. I'm honored to be here before you and the commission seeking accreditation status once again. The Houston Fire Department values excellence. This is the 5th time that we're seeking accreditation through the commission. And look, primarily we care about the people that we serve, and we recognize that seeking to exceed the standards is the best way to ensure that we can continually deliver the quality service that our community expects. And as a department and the city administration, we understand the importance of this process and the need to work with our stakeholders in order to strategically and collectively achieve the department's goals. So working through this accreditation process is an important tool for us to ensure accountability, to ensure high standards, and the excellence that's expected out of the fire department. So we know that placing the accreditation process at the forefront of our efforts is going to help us achieve just that. We did receive the recommendations from Cindy and her team, and we accept those recommendations. And in a lot of respects, we've already made some progress in accomplishing some of those recommendations and addressing the gaps that were identified. So again, commissioners, I want to thank you for giving up your time for this process. And before I turn it back over to you for questions, I'd like to ask City Council Member Abby Kamen if she would like to offer a few words.
Thank you, Chief. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. As the chair of our city's Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, I just wanted to express my support for our fire department and Chief Pena's pursuit of continuous improvement through CPSC's agency accreditation program. Y'all provide a model of best practices in ensuring community risks are addressed, and we appreciate all that you do to support not just our fire department, but fire departments throughout the country. And I think that our city, Houston, and the HFD's commitment to this program is even exemplified through the fact that our very own police chief participates in accreditation reviews in other cities. So I know that we really believe in this, and I thank Chief Pena for his leadership as well and walking the walk, not just talking the talk. I also want to thank the peer team that came to visit Houston and the time that Cindy Bonham took to speak with me while they were in town. I found that to be very helpful as a council member in learning more and also finding new ways that we can be supportive as well. Again, as the chief said, I know that the department is very receptive to the recommendations issued by the team, and we will all be looking deeper into them moving forward, including through the committee. I personally want to just say what a stellar job our fire department, our firefighters do under extremely challenging budgetary constraints. I think some of the most challenging in the entire country, while also facing multiple natural and man-made disasters, plant explosions, deadly freezes, multiple floods. The list goes on, and what our men and women of the fire department have been faced with and continue to rise to the challenge. So Chief Pena and our entire executive staff on down to those in our neighborhood stations are on the front lines. And I think that they deserve to be recognized for all that they do. Again, I just want to thank all of you for your time and your service in your respective cities, but also through this entity. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, council member. I appreciate your support, your continued support for the fire department. So with that, we'll be open for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief Pena, and thank you to the council member for being part of this as well. I appreciate that. I think we've got a couple of questions from commission. First is Thomas Breyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, rather good afternoon for me. Chief, how are you?
Good afternoon. It is afternoon over here as well. Yes, sir.
All right, great. I have one question. I might have some later, depending on how things get furled out. But under the fire suppression criterion, the 5E, that there was a notation that you did not really have any response time improvement from 2016. And I've heard a great deal of talk on here about obstacles that you faced for improvement. And I certainly can understand those things, but part of the accreditation process obviously is having a plan to move forward, right? So, is this a matter of you need more stations and engines and ladders and ambulances and medic units, et cetera? What are your obstacles for not being able to show improvement over the last couple of years, and what is your plan moving forward?
Absolutely. Well, Commissioner, thank you for your question, first of all. And look, there's I don't think I'm alone in this assessment. I think most fire chiefs throughout the country are going to tell you that there's always more needs than money, right? So certainly what we're seeing here in Houston is an increase in population. With that comes all the additional needs for additional service. So additional resources is always going to be part of the conversation. But we also have to look internally to ensure that we are using every available tool for us. Whether that's technology, whether that's operational policies, all the things that really go to ensuring that we can create some capacity in our system. We are exploring, with the help of Councilmember Kamen, we're exploring a change in our CAD system, right? Replacing our CAD, which is going to allow us to leverage some new technology. Well, not new technology, but it'll be different technology for the Houston Fire Department, primarily dispatched by ABL. Right now, they're hitting the stations, and we know that that's not the most efficient use of our resources. We're also looking at our deployment model and what we are sending on each, and this was another recommendation that was made by the team, and which was a good catch, what we're sending to each of the dispatches. If we're over deploying our resources on every call, then that means that there's less capacity for the next call, and we understand that response times are a function of capacity and unit availability. So, Commissioner, we're looking at everything. We're looking internally for our existing policies and procedures and deployment models, but we're also looking through technology to ensure that we're capitalizing on what's available that will create some capacity in our system. And we're also making the ask to council member and those that approve our budgets for an increased number of ambulance units, because just like most other systems, our primary service demand is EMS service, and we're really getting hit hard in that respect.
So I guess my follow-up question is, with the congested road network and structure and population increases and everything like that, certainly adding ambulances is going to be part of the solution, but there's likely going to be the need to add larger capital purchases like stations, right? Just because your road network and increased demand and the traffic volume. Like, is there anything in the plan for that? And again, I know it's going to be a weird statement from you to say money aside, right? But is there a plan? Like if I had my way, I need to be here. Is
Absolutely.
there a plan like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So right now we're working with the existing infrastructure, but there have been at least one study that I can point to that has recommended an additional fire station specifically on the on a particular side of town, the west side of town. We understand that there's a need for that, but it's going to be a comprehensive approach to this problem that that we need to address. The road systems here in Houston are always an issue. Congestion, weather is always an issue. So those are things that are unique to Houston. I want to say unique, I mean, because I'm sure other big cities experience the same problems, but that is an issue that we're having to deal with here. So yes, Commissioner, it's all part of the conversation. There is a plan and discussions about what we can do now, right, in the things that we mentioned, but also strategically what we need to advocate for in terms of capital investments in fire stations and additional transport units.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. You're good. Thank you. Appreciate
I'm sorry,
that.
I don't think I said it loud enough. Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
No, it's okay. It's all no problem. Chief Derrickson.
Yes, good afternoon. I have a question for the team leader because we don't often see a recommendation in category 1. And so that one kind of popped out to me. And so Cindy, what did you see within the organization as far as duplication of effort that maybe can be changed with an organizational change?
So Chief, this was unique. The way it's set up right now, state law in Texas dictates, and Chief Pena, please pop in if I don't say this correctly. If the population is over, I think 2 million now, that the agency has to be divided into 4 divisions. So operations, prevention, arson, and communications. And with the Houston Fire Department, if you are a firefighter when you start, then you must become a driver. And from there, you kind of get to choose which path you want to follow. So if I'm a driver and I want to take the captain's test, but I want to go to communications, then I take the captain's test for communications. And then through communications, I go up, I become district chief, whatever. If I want to go back to operations, I have to start back over at captain of operations and go through that process again. And they cannot crisscross. And so one of the things we saw, for example, during COVID, Houston firefighters were hit hard, and there were times when their staffing may have dictated they needed to brown out a fire station. Yet in all these other divisions, there were people that could have possibly filled those roles, but they weren't allowed to crisscross the divisions. And so it's kind of a hard ask as a recommendation because you're talking about it being state law. But it was just kind of to encourage the department to try to figure out how to mesh all those, to kind of be more efficient in how they operated business instead of like 4 completely separate departments.
Yeah. Thanks. That answers that question. I didn't understand that. I didn't know that the state law dictates that for communities. So that's a pretty significant a hurdle that has to be dealt with. And Chief, I just want to commend you too. I don't know in the last 5 years if there's been an agency that has dealt with as many large disasters and things that that the city of Houston has gone through in the last 5 years with the flooding and the hurricanes and all those kind of things. So and keeping through and working through this process. So good work through this last year and making it to a 5-year agency, a legacy agency. So good work going forward here.
Thank you, Commissioner. And if I may add to what Cindy mentioned, it is a complex issue, and that shows how sharp Cindy is, and she was able to capture a lot of the intricacies that are involved in our rank structure. But not only is the bracketed requirements in state law that apply only to Houston an issue, but the issue that Cindy was mentioning was essentially an ordinance that was set up back in the 50s, where we have essentially 3 different rank structures, one for communication, one for the Life Safety Bureau, and one for emergency operations. And we do have an issue where we cannot move people once they're in those rank structures easily from one division to another. A person would have to come back down the rank structure and then promote up again through operations if they want to re-enter that. So it does create some challenges for us. You know, it prevents people from getting a diversity of experience, and so we understand that we need to do a better job of ensuring that we're preparing the pipeline, right, to replace our positions by putting in systems in the department that's structured like ours is, where individuals do get those experiences from the different divisions. And I think that's what Cindy was alluding to, in that we need to have better programs to ensure that an individual in emergency operations understands the work and the requirements and the impact that an individual in the Life Safety Bureau, for example, has on their well-being and understanding the process. That is beneficial for the organization, is beneficial for the department and the individual. So we are making some changes in that. I know that's a core competency. We are dedicated to increase that integration, and we're going to do it through advisory committees, right? Where we involve, if it's an operational committee, we're going to involve individuals from other divisions to ensure that they're participating in the process and decision-making process to ensure that they're getting that diversity of experience, and to ensure that us as a department have a wide range of views that go into the development of these new policies.
Thanks for that further clarification. That helps a lot.
Yes, sir.
Chief Butler, I think you're up next.
Yes, thank you. It's good seeing you again, Chief Pena, and I've been watching from afar, and you guys are really doing some really good things over there in Houston.
Thank you, Chief.
I catch you on the national news every now and then. Usually it's because there's a disaster or an extreme event or something. So good job in managing it, all of you. Regarding financial resources, it is noted that each cost center has one person designated and responsible for that cost center. Is that person, that particular specific person, also represented on the strategic planning team?
Yes, so we are, first of all, Chief, good to see you. Yes, we've been making the news, and it's not welcome sometimes, because it usually is preceded by some storm or something else that's affecting our communities.
I get it. I can relate. Yeah, I get it.
You know exactly what I mean. But yes, sir, they are involved in the strategic planning process. For us right now, the most efficient way to handle those cost centers is to have a dedicated person. Just because of the size of the organization, it's very difficult to. We structure it kind of like it's hierarchical, just like the fire department is in their rank structure. So we have one person designated, and then they report to a division manager, and all the way up to one of the 3 executive assistant chiefs. But having one person designated cost center provides some continuity, provides some expertise, and it's worked well for us right now. And we're hoping that we can expand. I mean, look, it's all about personnel, right? We always need more people. We do need more civilian staff, and we're working with our city administration to ensure that we're adequately resourcing these divisions that in the end ensure that we have the tools and the equipment to do our job.
So what I think I'm hearing is the person that's designated as the manager of that cost center has a seat at the table.
That's I'm looking at my staff to confirm that, but that is correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Rhodes, I think you're next.
So just real brief, everybody that has watched knows where I go automatically, and that is the category 7 when we talk about health assessments and annual medical assessments. So I know large organization, but in the year 2021, what keeps us from getting this big monster organization to annual physicals, annual assessments, annual medicals for all your members? So what keeps you from getting there?
Right now, it's going to be time, Commissioner. I am fully committed to ensuring that we implement a mandatory, non-punitive annual physical for our firefighters. It is something that I brought to the table during contract negotiations. It is something that I will revisit and bring up to as a recommendation from the administration for the department. The most efficient way to get that program done right is through the collaboration between labor and management. But I think we're both sides, to say it that way, are on board with the need for annual physicals. We've gone one step further now to kind of jumpstart where we are. We've applied for an AFG grant to provide some funds, because it's about funding a department our size. You know, I got almost 4,000 members, so it's a significant investment, and hopefully we get this grant in place and jumpstart this program this coming year, where we have every one of our members the opportunity to get a comprehensive physical, and then we move forward with a contract that mandates that we continue those programs. Again, it's all about if we can look back 15 years from now, Commissioner, and cancer isn't the #1 killer of firefighters, then we would have done a good job for this department. And as an industry, I think we should all be focused on that. So we're fully committed.
Absolutely. You hit it right on. It is labor management, but going forward, that has to be a priority. And hopefully this recommendation helps you get through the finish line.
Yes, sir.
So good luck.
Sorry, I think I'm seeing Ken Holland had a question, but to disregard because it's been asked and answered. So are there any other questions from Commission? Not seeing any. Can I get a motion to approve Houston Fire?
Aye.
Sorry.
Oh,
I think I saw Jake Rhodes there for one.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Can I get a second?
Second, Dirksen.
Steve Dirksen, thank you. Any further discussion on Houston Fire? Not seeing any. Any opposed to the motion?
I'm a no vote, Breyer.
Thank you. Any others opposed? Congratulations, Houston. 5th accreditation. Good job.
Thank you all. Thank you, Commissioners.
We'll make sure. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I said we're looking forward to ensuring that we clear all these recommendations and we move forward as an organization. And I want to thank the Commission for your dedication to the fire service. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Dana, and we'll ship out the plaque. Unfortunately, we're not able to meet as we normally would, so you have another one for the wall behind you. It looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
All right, last one's going to be Vista Fire Department, California. Chief Ensign, good day.
Good day, Mr. Rostow. How are you today?
I am fine.
Good morning.
Hey, Ralph.
All right, looks like you guys are good to go.
All right. Everybody set?
Okay.
I think we are. Chief Dongworth, it's all yours.
Welcome, Vista Fire Department, California. Welcome to the May hearings, virtually done as they have been for the last little while here. So without further ado, I'll hand back to Team Leader Ensign to do the introductions, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman Dongworth. As the Chairman said, my name is Ralph Ensign, and I had the privilege of serving as the team leader for the Vista Fire Department in Vista, California. Unfortunately, we were not able to do an on-site visit in the beautiful Southern California area, so we had to do the site visit virtually due to the pandemic and some of the city issues in closing down. We felt this was the most efficient way to do it. At this time, I'd like to thank the peer assessors that were involved with this site visit from start to finish. Chris Gossel from Union Township Fire Department located in Ohio. David Stevenson, retired fire officer from the Ottawa Fire Services up in Canada. And then Harry Tullier, Hartford Fire Department in Hartford, Connecticut. As I've kind of heard through some of the other site visits that went on, there were some personnel changes within Vista during the accreditation document review process as their accreditation manager retired. And also it should go without, it should go with mentioning that the department did suffer a tragic loss with the passing of one of their firefighters during the review process, and may he rest in peace. Once all this got straightened out and after the department got through its 4-month delay process to get their documentation in order, the virtual site visit was approved. And I have to say that the department really did an outstanding job in getting all of their documentation in place, which mainly was focused on the response data and getting it in the proper format so the peer team could approve the review of their response data. During the exit interview, the peer team was passed over to the team's 7 core competency recommendations, along with 6 performance indicator recommendations to the staff and other attendees. And the department has reviewed each one of these recommendations and is initiating plans to address them as well. Vista should be commended on their participation with this site visit. Expectations going in were exceeded by the enthusiasm that was displayed by the department. Everyone that we interviewed virtually was very well versed in their area of expertise, did an awesome job explaining their area. And I have to pass on that the virtual site visit for the community tour was awesome, as we got to drive around Vista on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. With that said, as team leader, I recommend that the Vista Fire Department receive accredited agency status. I will now turn it over to Chief Ned Vanderpool for his opening comments.
Thank you, and thank you to the rest of the peer team as well. It was definitely a very informative and worthwhile process to go through. We appreciated all of your input and your feedback. And thank you for taking the time. It did definitely take a long time, and we had a couple of hiccups along the way, but the peer team stuck with us the entire process, and that was very fortunate. I think it was definitely helpful from my standpoint, so I certainly appreciate that. In the Vista Fire Department, we had a lot of participation. The administrative staff did a really good job of staying involved, and like was mentioned, it was challenging times for sure. We have a celebration of life for our firefighter paramedic Andy Valenta on Saturday, so we've been dealing with that. He was diagnosed with cancer months ago, and so it's been a very challenging time for the Vista Fire Department. We've also had tremendous support from the city. I have with us today, the city manager, Patrick Johnson, and the mayor, Mayor Ritter. They'll both be sharing some opening comments as well. And overall, this is our 3rd accreditation now, and it definitely shows it's been a continuous improvement model that we've adhered to, support that across all ranks in the organization. And it's really been something that's helped drive us going forward. As new members join the department in whatever rank, it is something that we've held on to very closely throughout. So we're very appreciative of that. Also joining today, Deputy Chief Mike Easterling, Deputy Chief Craig Usher, and Ashley Adair and Jamie Smith, both who have been very involved in their own sections, emergency management and finance, but managing the overall process as well. So very appreciative of everybody's involvement. So we did receive the recommendations, the 13 recommendations. We appreciate each one of those. We have started working on a number of them already, and we accept all of those recommendations. So with that, I will now introduce City Manager Patrick Johnson.
Thank you, Chief. I do want to start off by saying I echo the Chief's comments. I appreciate the peer assessor team, albeit virtual. They did a great job in reviewing the department. We appreciate their time, and I also appreciate the Commission's time today for the reaccreditation review. Being accredited is very special to the City of Vista. We value this. Obviously, we've been accredited twice, and we're very proud to have that honor. And I do want to thank Chief Vanderpool and the entire Vista team who participated in this, going through this effort and preparing the department. Accreditation means a lot to us, as I mentioned. It is something that we can use as a tool to constantly strive for improvement, constantly monitor and evaluate the department. And so we don't take this lightly. We take it very seriously. And we appreciate your time today, and we look forward to your recommendation. And I'll turn it over to our Mayor, Judy Ritter.
Hi, we are extremely pleased that our Vista Fire Department has retained accredited status twice and is here today for a third time. Our fire department has learned a lot through this process and has and continues to lead improved service delivery. The City Council and I fully support the fire department seeking accreditation, as this will ensure high quality of fire and emergency services for our residents, our community, and our businesses. And we appreciate your time today and your consideration.
Thank you. That concludes our opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Chief, and great to see City Manager and Mayor alongside you as well. It shows a great deal of support. So as you mentioned, third accreditation this time around. Questions from commissioners? I think we're going to start with Chief Ford.
Good morning, as it is in California, I'm sure. Congratulations on a very, very strong report. Quick question on Category 2. In terms of your risk classification process, what efforts are you making towards formalizing your risk classification process to, accurately and efficiently apply risk consistently across all planning zones, which is one of the 2 recommendations you had in that regard?
Yes, so the plan going forward is to do something similar to what we did in 2015 with our accreditation process, which was going through the RHAVE process. What we're looking to do going forward is formalize the process by getting a lot more in depth. Currently, it really revolves around having engine companies go out and complete those risk assessments in their first in areas in their planning zones. One option that actually Jamie Smith, who's with us today, is looking at is getting a regional risk analysis done. So not just focusing on the City of Vista, but doing it throughout the entire region, similar to what the emergency managers in the county have done with the emergency operations plan, getting funding for one emergency operations planner to help document all of the agencies within the region. So that model is what we're hoping to use for a comprehensive risk analysis and assessment.
So you mentioned the RHAVE model, like most of us who have, gone back and taken the old DOS program and cracked the code on it and built it into something that actually works. Are you looking at more factors in the RHAVE model or like a 3-axis analysis for risks?
Yeah, I would say, whatever the best practice is currently, I'm not committed to the RHAVE model at all. I don't think that's the one we would use at this point. But anything we can get it to provide the kind of results, the product that we're looking for, in doing a comprehensive analysis for sure.
Well, I do commend you on that, and taking the California model of risk analysis, a little familiar with that. I think that would be a solid plan for you. So well done.
Okay, thank you.
We have a question next from Chief Dirksen.
Good morning, Vista. Glad to have you at the table for a third time. Looking at the report, my question is going towards Category 5A. community risk reduction program. The report indicates that you're only completing about 12% of the inspections of inspectable buildings within your community. And you're meeting the minimum of California state law. The model is a continuous improvement model. What steps are you putting in place to get more inspections of those critical of all of your commercial buildings within your community?
Yeah, so what a number of things that we're doing in that regard. So we are meeting all of the state mandated inspections. One of the things that we've done just recently is reinstituted the emergency engine company inspection program. So the goal of that is to have the engine companies going out, and they'll be doing the primary inspections on 359 apartment structures in the community. That will free up our 3 inspectors who have the more formalized training to be out there doing more of the high end, the technical inspections in the business park and that sort of thing. So that's one piece of it. Additionally, we are looking to add a fire inspector to our Fire Prevention Bureau effective July 1st. And the goal of that individual would be out there to be accomplishing more of those inspections. Our goal would be to get in the business park primarily on a 3-year rotation for inspections. So we do a good job on schools, on hotels, motels, and apartment buildings, but we really need to expand it out further than that.
So for your more technical ones, how many inspections are your fire prevention or your inspectors conducting outside of the 350 that your operation folks are?
Yeah, I don't have that number offhand. Craig, if you know that.
I would say approximately 200 in addition to those mandated inspections annually.
Okay. And how does that affect your ISO rating?
It did not affect it on this last one, other than what it's been before. This hasn't changed for us significantly. Prior to the recession, we had 8 individuals in the Fire Prevention Bureau. So we've obviously decreased significantly. So the goal is definitely to add more strength in inspections, and that will come through primarily the engine company inspections, but also getting additional personnel as budget and finances allow.
Okay, thank you.
I think next question is from Sal.
Congratulations on your achievement here today. My question comes from category 9 in the water supply. Just a clarification on the mutual aid of tenders response. So according to your water supply, you have a very robust and reliable water system. And I was just curious, the response of the tenders to on mutual aid rather than automatic aid, which is probably not needed with regards to the single PPC class, but what's the reason for that mutual aid response? Is that a inadequate fire flow area for that response or an emergency water supply response? Just curious about that.
So on structure fires, we don't have any water tenders assigned to the responses. That would be a special request item through the mutual aid system. On vegetation fires, we do have water tenders on the automatic response. So as you mentioned, we do have a very comprehensive and robust water supply system that services not just the city, but the surrounding district and county area. We also carry 1,000 feet of supply hose on each of our fire engines. So we definitely have good capabilities to get to any structure and have that near a hydrant. So it's not an issue that we deal with on a regular basis on structure fires, but definitely on vegetation fires, they are part of the response.
Okay, that's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you.
I don't see any more questions from commission. Have I missed anyone? Okay. So a great report, 3rd accreditation, as we said. Can I get a motion to approve Vista for their 3rd accreditation, please?
So moved.
I heard Terry Ford, thank you. And second?
Jim Keating.
Jim Keating, thank you. Any further discussion on Vista? Any opposed? Congratulations, Vista. A unanimous vote on approving you for your 3rd accreditation. Good job.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll make the arrangements to get your plaque to you to hang with the other 2, hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you very much.